Welcome to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I am one of your co-hosts, and today I'm interviewing Joshua Peters, who is the Twin Cities Hypnotist. So, for those of you not familiar with hypnotism, it has had a lot of profound effects in many people's lives. I'm sure we'll delve further into some of the people who have seen a lot of great results. And it's something that if you have a habit or just something in your life where you're looking to make a change and you've tried a lot of different things, hypnosis is something that can really help. So, without further ado, Joshua, if you want to take it away, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into hypnosis? And we'll start with that.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. For me, hypnosis has been something I've been really interested in since I was about 13.
Mm-hmm.
It started with a book in my school library, taught me how to go into a relaxed state of mind. And I would use that to sleep better at night, to prepare myself before tests.
Mm-hmm.
And I really used it through my whole life, but it was for my first introduction to hypnosis.
Okay. Yeah.
I never really got into it much more than that for a long time until I had a moment in my life where it's kind of like my darkest moment of my life, and I was living in, I call it the house of broken dreams, and I was working in a job that was kind of slowly killing me, and living in a place I never wanted to live. And in that space, I started to shift and change my life.
Mm-hmm.
It led me to moving here to the Twin Cities and studying hypnosis. And when I realized how powerful it really is,
Mm-hmm.
how it could really affect and make changes for people, and that I could help people make their own changes in their lives a lot quicker than it took me, because it was about a 15-year process for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then not only that, but I could make a living at this.
Yeah.
That felt like the most empowering way I could possibly live my life. So that's why I jumped into it, and I have this way of when I want to do something, I jump in and kind of go all in. So that's what I did. I worked with a mentor for about a year, started working with clients right away, and just went from there.
Okay, very cool. So, it sounds like going from a place where, it sounds like you're really unhappy with where you were at, kind of that more so like rock bottom moment, it almost sounds like. I know that's a term they use a lot when it comes to like addiction and recovery, but sometimes you need to have that really deep kind of eye-opening spot. So you had mentioned too, understanding the power of being in a relaxed mind state, how to get there, practice that from a young age. So, when you started doing hypnosis, I guess, what was kind of the most exciting part for you? What did it, I guess, how did it, you mentioned that, change your life, being able to help others, but for you personally, practicing hypnosis as a practitioner, what did that that journey, how did that manifest, or does that make sense?
Sure, I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
For me, this has always been about finding freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That low point, I was trapped. I was stuck, right? All the ways you want to describe it. But the worst part was I had trapped myself.
Okay.
Everything that I had told myself, the stories that I told myself, are what trapped me there.
Yeah.
That moment when I started to come out of that was when I started to create my own stories rather than, I had always been creating my own stories, but I started to consciously create stories. So rather than feeling like I had to do this, I got to make choices, and I started choosing. I started becoming involved with the community. I started working with my kids' school to raise money. I started giving, really, is a lot of what it was. And that shifted me a lot from a kind of scarce mindset
Yeah.
into an abundant mindset. So
Right.
that was a really important piece of it.
Yeah.
The hypnosis itself, what I love about it is that freedom that you get, and really, I guess freedom could be my through line of my life.
Yeah.
From spending half of it trapped until now, just everything I do it because I want the freedom to make my own choices and
Yeah.
to create the life that I can envision,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just what you end up with.
Right. Yeah.
So many of us just kind of end up with
Yeah.
what we end up with.
Right. Well, it sounds like what I'm hearing is that you really moved from a state where, you were making decisions, but it almost was in a more like a reactive and kind of a disempowered state.
Exactly.
Moving to a space where you were empowered and being able to make decisions to influence the future in ways that were going to be not only beneficial for you and your well-being and your freedom, but for others as well.
You got it. Yeah.
Which, from knowing you, I know that, being able to connect with and empower people and help people, make really impactful changes to their lives, that's one of your deepest values. So really cool to hear. Kind of building off that, I'm not going to ask you, how exactly hypnosis works, but kind of what is it that you do with people, or I guess when you're working with people, how or what are they able to change or shift? What kind of things do people come to you experiencing?
Mhm.
Just a little bit more about your practice and really what you focus on.
Sure. My main focus is on entrepreneurs
Okay.
and executives, public speakers, people that are doing well, and yet they recognize there's something about themselves that's holding them back.
Okay.
That can show up as a fear of public speaking, for example. It can show up as trouble making a decisive decision when you have so many people depending on you. It shows up a lot of ways as fears and as anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
So with hypnosis, we are able to, the easiest way, the simplest way that I can describe it is we speak to the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious mind is that part that is responsible for the habits and the beliefs and the behaviors that we never think about.
Right.
With hypnosis, we're able to communicate with that part,
Yeah.
to rewire or reprogram that part of us
Mm-hmm.
into what we would like it to be doing rather than what it decides to do, usually when we're kids
Right.
and we don't really know what life is all about.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting, and it sounds like a lot with hypnosis. A lot of times when we think about change or the change process, or if we want to do something like quitting a bad habit, let's say smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
So often, what we're fed in contemporary culture of how to approach these things is either going to be an external fix, or it's going to be something that's more surface level. And you're not getting into that deeper layer where the true, as you're mentioning, maybe fear, anxiety, or whatever it is that's causing a disruption in the system. A lot of times that's way beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And what it sounds like is you help people get to that deeper layer and really address the root, per se, of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And smoking cessation is a great example.
Okay.
Smokers typically start smoking for one of three reasons.
Yeah.
They want to be like a peer group, so they want to fit in. They want to
Okay.
be part of the tribe.
Right.
They want to connect with an authority figure, so they want to be like someone that they look up to.
Okay.
Or they want to rebel against an authority figure and kind of claim their life for themselves.
Interesting.
Those are the three main reasons. When you have that cigarette, the emotion that's there around that reason, it becomes part of you.
Yeah.
So then every time you're having a cigarette, you are experiencing that emotional feeling, that need.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily at a level that you can recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, I'm an ex-smoker, and for me, it was about connection. When I would feel lonely or unsafe, having a cigarette would make me feel connected. because that's what it was taking me right back in time
Oh yeah.
to that connection feeling that I was getting. So you can stop smoking, you can cover up the cravings with medications, but you're not taking away that emotional need
Right.
that is getting met.
Mhm.
If you don't resolve that emotional need, you're still a smoker.
Yeah, that's really powerful to hear, and just how those of you who have listened to the podcast, we've talked about a couple different times between Dr. Mel and myself these kind of feedback loops that we go into because there's something within our physiology, and we know that our body holds on to emotional traumas or emotional stress in our physiology. Going back and serving that is a defense mechanism, is what it comes down to. It makes you feel like you're in a more safe or just comfortable environment when something's coming up that doesn't feel so good. Turning to, dragging a cigarette or having a drink or, whatever it may be. There's a plethora of different things that people are doing that are destructive to our livelihood. What I'm hearing is that you're really, again, going to the root and addressing those emotions, those unmet needs of those emotions, and being able to help people really get into that. So
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Well, I can add something to what you just
Yeah.
talked about.
Sure.
We're releasing the past,
Mhm.
so we're releasing that need. But the other thing that I love about hypnosis is we're creating a future. And you touched on it with what you just said. The subconscious does what it does to keep us safe, to keep us protected, which means we're not dead,
Mhm.
right? So it doesn't mean that we're thriving, it just means we're not dead.
Okay, yeah.
The subconscious also will go to what is comfortable.
Okay, yeah.
And it needs a target.
Mhm.
If it doesn't have a target of what you want, it's going to go to what it knows. So much of what I do with hypnosis, so we release the past, but we create a vision of what that's going to be like when you're free of that. So go back to the smoking example. Imagining yourself in a situation where in the past you would have been triggered, you would have needed to have a cigarette to get through that moment, but this time something's different. This time you feel free, just take a deep breath, and that feels incredible.
Mhm.
Fill in all those details for yourself, right? So we do that in a moment when you're in hypnosis, and the person makes that real in their mind. Now the subconscious mind has this thing mapped to that situation.
Yeah.
So when it happens, it can go to it, and the neurons are actually connecting
Right.
when we're doing that. The mind doesn't know the difference between doing something in reality or imagining doing something in reality. The same stuff is happening in the brain. So this is kind of creating a pathway, a highway,
Yep.
to give you that future that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's really important. I like that you brought that up, is because our brain and in a lot of ways, what we experience in our perception of life is dictated by our neural pathways and what has been created throughout our entire life. And you mentioned that really key point, and this is even back to envisioning anything in life, creating a vision for what it is that you want to create going forward. If you can imagine yourself in that mind state, like you said, our bodies will actually get into that pathway and get into that rhythm before we might actually be there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing is you take a really holistic approach to addressing the past, which is, we know that's very important, and there's a lot of people who focus on that and that alone. Being in the present with the hypnosis, which is also really important. We know there's people who do that and that alone, but also that future, right? So being able to put yourself in the mind state, create a new feedback loop or a new pathway to create a new reality around stressful situations or events, and creating more salutogenic, something that we use in our office, more health-giving and life-giving activities to be able to address those situations. So I really like that you kind of have that holistic, the whole span of time mindset. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else that you want to share about you and your practice? Anything that's, maybe burning desires that you have, or I guess actually going off that, as we know, we live in a very stressed out society. We have, there's different layers and different levels to this. Cigarettes and drinking are one thing. There's also a lot of people who, whether they fell into it on purpose or not, are abusing opioids. The opioid epidemic is huge. And there's a lot of other things that are going on right now when it comes to, something that I have had a lot of experience with and knowing was that, like binge eating behavior was something that I used to cope with stress growing up.
Right.
So, all of, whether you want to take maybe a single approach on one of those issues, or if there's like an overarching thing, what is kind of your vision with what you do, or just society in general? How can we begin to help the masses and more people be able to tap into more, their subconscious and their kind of internal desire to make change and to be able to do it and stick with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. One of the most powerful ways to make change is to relax.
Yeah.
And there are studies out there showing that if, as a hypnotist, I did nothing more than brought you into a deep state of hypnosis and allowed you to relax your body for 10 minutes, that would start you on that path. That would start to give you the change you're looking for. Without any suggestion, without any change work in the past, any visioning of the future, just relaxing can get you to where you go. And as you said, we live in a stressful society. There's a lot of anxiety around. I see a lot of people for anxiety. There's a lot of fear, a lot of worry, a lot of overthinking, and a lot of behaviors that are used that are unhealthy to deal with that stress, like you talked about.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would offer to your listeners is a free recording to allow themselves to feel that relaxation.
Yeah.
And they can do that by going to integratedhypnosis.com/gift.
Gift.
And if you put that in the notes, then
I'll
it'll
put that
be
in the
there.
bio for sure. And I think, I really thank you for talking about the relaxed state, because, what Dr. Mel is all about, and myself as well, and we know that in such a, if you want to look at it from this nervous system perspective, our society promotes this being in the sympathetic state, the fight or flight. And I just read an article yesterday talking about how that is affecting the way that our mitochondria are breaking down energy and energizing our body, and it's leading to more inflammation. And it's just, when it really comes down to it, like you said, being able to be in a relaxed state, that parasympathetic state, being able to rest and allow our body, because we know that our body isn't going to be healing if it's not in that relaxed state. Being able to just do something for a couple minutes a day to get into that state can have profound effects. So I thank you for sharing that gift. That's really, really powerful. And, for those of you listening, if you want to get in touch with me or Josh, definitely check out the gift. I'll put it in the bio. And then if there's anything else too you want to share about what you do and how people can get in touch with you.
Sure.
And go ahead.
I do this one-on-one consultation with hypnosis. I also do speaking, so I love speaking to groups, sharing what hypnosis is, how it works, giving them a bit of an experience so they can feel it for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I love to have talk to anybody who's interested in that. If you want to be in touch with me, my website is integratedhypnosis.com.
Yep.
And then you can find me on the social medias at Joshua Ray Peters, R-E-Y.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Reach out, connect. I love to connect with people.
For sure.
Kind of share the adventures of my life.
Yeah.
And
I love following your Instagram too, because you, at least a couple times a week, you post really just uplifting, good things to see. And so often I feel like when I'm on social media, you see people who are posting negativity, and I really appreciate that you you know, every time that we've ever gotten together or had a meeting or I've seen you at like BNI and what I see you post online, you really have the optimistic view, but you're also doing the work and have the vision to make that positivity become a reality, not just for yourself, but for everyone else.
Yes.
You know, I know you, like I said, you really truly value helping other people live in their most thriving, optimal way. So.
And I think that comes from me
wanting
to live my optimal, thriving way as well. So I feel like I practice what I preach, and I make mistakes.
Right.
And I screw up. I'm a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like to do with my social network is show that.
Yeah.
And just let you know what life is really. I mean, life is not shiny and perfect for people.
Yeah.
But I do like to keep it optimistic and keep it positive.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I hide posts on my Facebook page. If there's something negative, they go into my hide, and I don't want to see that. I just
Snooze
want to snooze them, exactly. I
That's awesome.
prefer to surround myself with positivity.
Yep. Well, thank you for being a model of that, because I don't know who the quote is by, and this isn't verbatim what the quote is, but we know that if you want to change the world, if you want to change what is around you, you have to start by changing yourself and being the example of what you want to see. So,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure, and until next time, my friends, keep inspiring. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks, Joshua.
Hey there, did you find value in today's episode? We sure hope so, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Also, hop on over to Facebook and join the Inspired Living community. There, Dr. Mel and I share health and wellness tips to help you live your most inspired and thriving life.
And as always,
Keep inspiring.